Hello everyone, and welcome back to our second episode of Hollow Knight. Now, for those who pay attention can notice that I have a lot more geo than I originally have, and the reason is that my software I use like OBS and the video file got corrupted and I did quite a bit. I defeated Hornet as our next main boss. However, I thought it would be best if I just did ended up on the same part that we left off, and since then we shall continue then. I did a bit more on not just a bit. For example, I got 2 mask shards because if you remember in the first video I tried to do a trick to pull a Vengefly, so you can pogo on it and do a bit of parkour just so you can get a mask charge, but I failed. So I just tried again this time and I got it really easy, so I got the extra mask. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, just check the first video. Still, I will enjoy the extra money. I also fought and got a couple more grubs that I left behind and just explored the Forgotten Crossroads a bit thoroughly, just to get like everything that is good that I need, since I was off camera, I didn't have the streak all the time, but still it ended up being like 24 minutes of playtime, since that's how it was in the save file. However, that's fine. Everything's fine, everything is good, everything is great. And now I hope you guys will continue to enjoy the second episode. Now, we got our first spell, which we'll use to defeat this. I guess we'll call it just like a big enemy, like they have in Silksong. Not a actual boss, just, is a bigger enemy. Just that. Now we got our second charm that I will equip, despite knowing how useless it is. I shall explain later.
Oh, so it's done then. You slain the beast. The poor thing. He must have been terrified of you. Used to be quite docile, but the rancid there in this cavern is filled with some ancient rage. Still, did what had to be done. Have my gratitude. Of course. We both know you wouldn't have made it through without the spell of mine. Ho ho ho. And look, the gate between us has opened. I'm sure you are eager to move on. Farewell and have faith. Wherever you're seeking, it will find you.
Now, the snail shamans as a tribe in Hallownest for me are quite interesting in a lot of ways, just generally. How in Silksong we understand that they have a connection to the void. In Hollow Knight, they clearly have a connection with soul and a much more refined control, despite them being like so little of them. You can get a couple of soul stuff from them. For example, I got the soul catcher and the spell from him, and all the other spells, not all the others, only one another spell that you get, which is the Howling Shriek? No, Shriek is a bit Shriek. Howling Screams? It's another word, but still, it's Howling something. So I will go back to Dirtmouth just so we can interact with the NPCs and buy some more stuff. I don't think I will visit Iselda because I do not need the pen, and I will just visit Sly because I want to get the Swarmer of collectors. Collectors? Scavengers? I do not remember. Still, let's go. I don't think I actually opened the stag station, so I will do it really quickly.
Hello, I knew we meet again. Do you like my cozy little store? I made myself pretty comfortable here. Selling your trinkets to travelers like yourself. If you find it below, I have several items that may improve your chances of survival.
Yes, gathering, swarm. Yes. I put the word swarm before. Now with both together, I can remove this and equip both. There we go. That's all that I need. I will talk with you later, Elderbug, and I will go quickly to the stag station so I can unlock the fast travel. Just so you know, as I said, it's 100% thing, so getting every stag station is important. One thing to note is that since Hollow Knight has a lot of mods, I could try a couple if you guys like the idea. For example, two that comes immediately to mind is Pale Court, one which is pretty great. I've played a bit of it, like I saw the bosses and things like that. I just didn't have the ability to get them yet. Not yet, but still. So now we go down here. I will meet Myla later. Now down here? Yes, there we go. Do I go visit the grandfather and get more geo? No, I'll do that later. I'll do that later when I need more money. I was gonna say that I don't want to die and lose all my money, but this is still so, you know. Anyway, so the point is that now that we have the fast travel, I will go back to Dirtmouth. Greetings, little one. It's been an age, so that's the reason. Oh no, actually, I did his voice on the first episode. I think. Anyway, I will check it later, and I will do its voice again for the next episodes if I didn't do it. Now I open the stack station, and then I will go down and left. You know, roguelikes. You go twists and turns to just unlock shortcuts. It's pretty fun. So, one thing that I think Hollow Knight is compared to Silksong, sorry to change the subject, but I think Hollow Knight in comparison is way more simple. Your attacks are much more basic. It's a slash in front of you, it's a slash up and a slash down. Yes, you get a couple of things that change it, however, it's nothing as substantial as Silksong. And I do not mean this in a bad way, this game is still amazing despite that. And the fact that Silksong have this kind of stuff just for me makes that game even more enjoyable. But also for me, in my opinion, a lot of charms can be quite simple, while, you know, a lot of the tools in Silksong are a lot more complex and interesting in general. You know, the red, blue and yellow tools, and how each of them doesn't have a cost, you just have slots for each of them. Now we are on GREENPATH. I will try to reach Hornet by this episode. However, since I did quite a run around in Forgotten Crossroads, it may be possible that I do not fight her. Yet. Now, since I'm already talking about the said boss fight, I could say that Hornet's one of my favorite boss fights and one of my favorite characters, not just because of, you know, Silksong, but just her story in general. The gendered child, a enemy that turns into one of the strongest allies that we have in this world. I will not spoil much of Silksong's true ending, but I found it cool how in the true ending you can exactly know which ending from Hollow Knight Silksong is based on, like which ending is canon. Since there's 5 different endings in Hollow Knight for those who do not know, and there are 3 in Silksong, only one of them being canon, while in Hollow Knight it can be debated which 2 out of the 5 are canon. Now, something to note in my opinion is that I personally enjoy all of Hollow Knight's endings, each with their own effect and everything. And when I was playing Silksong, I played Devil's Advocate with my friend, because he was constantly saying things like, oh no, Silksong definitely happens after, you know, after Hollow Knight happens. Because he clearly states a lot of things that has happened in Hollow Knight. And I played Devil's Advocate being like, I mean, yes, it could make sense in this way that you're portraying. However, if you think a bit about it, she could also mean the same thing, but from another point of perspective. So, for example, in a little, you know, Let me just do that. Sorry, I got a notification and I closed it up. Now, a simple thing to note is that, for example, in Hornet says, which was one of the arguments that my friend gave me, was that, you know, Hornet mentions how gods can fall, and she was talking about the radiance, you know, the gods that spreads the infection here in Holland, for those who do not know. However, I talked about how Hornet said how, like, when she talks about defeating gods, a second. Isn't this a contrast from the crossroads? Such a humid, lively place. The roads twist and turn in the most wonderful ways. I've done my best to chart the area ahead, though I must admit some of the area's inhabitants proved quite a nuisance. Nuisance. Yes, it's a nuisance. Thank you for the map, my dear. And what I was saying is that she talked about how gods, like, although they have the title, they are not worthy of being called such. And I brought out the argument that she must be referring to the Pale King, as, you know, he is a god in the words of Hollow Knight, as the game states, a higher being, as they are called. So in that sense, she could be referring to him and not to her, the Radiance. Now, something to note that one of my friends was talking about with me. Oh, give me a moment, because this is cool. A moment.
Tiny squib, you approach fearless. Are you a hunter like me? Do you feel the urge inside to stalk, to kill, to understand? Then take it, my journal. It will aid you. At first the text may seem difficult to discern, but a learned hunter will come to understand its words. Venture the depths of this land and slay its beasts. Prove yourself worthy to bear the mark of hunter.
And we got the Hunter's Journal, the bestiaries. Now, as I was saying, one of these friends had an argument. It was like, so in the ending of Hollow Knight, canon. I was talking column. What the fuck? Canon. God, the canon ending. He said that the knight is not hollow, and I was like, I will let you explain, but I just to note, I immediately disagrees, and he's like, okay. So, and his argument was because in the Pantheon you can fight Winged Nosk, which is taking the form of Hornet instead of your own. And he was using the argument that since Nosk's own takes the form of creatures people care about, Song, it would make sense that the knight cares about Hornet. And with emotion, he would not be void. And oh yeah, there's this little bench here. I will sit down here. And I looked at him, I was like, alright, first of all, I do not think that's how it works. Because specifically for the simple fact that in the Pantheon of Hollow Knight, the boss rush against all bosses, Winged Nosk does not take the place of Nosk. It's just an added boss fight, and Nosk happens like 20 fights earlier than Winged Nosk. And I brought the argument like, if you think that's the reason, you are telling me that in that only 20 fights before the Winged Nosk, somehow the knight just at that moment felt something about Hornet. And I was like, I mean, not exactly. I was like, dude, and I was saying like, in the Pantheons, just as the Sisters of Battle, one of the most amazing boss fights happens because of the Pantheon's ability to strengthen the people that appear in it, giving them the full potential, just like Pure Vessel, for example. I do not have a dash. For example, Pure Vessel, you know, one of the most difficult fights in my opinion, he was brought to his full potential because he was in the Pantheon. So, hello Hornet. So my argument was that since now Nosk was able to get a lot more potential, he was able to turn into Hornet, a higher being, at least half higher being, since she's the daughter of the Pale King with her mother Hera, the beast, which is a normal weaver, a normal beast. She was able to he was able to imitate her appearance, which, although I don't think you could count like he's unable to transform into at least the shapes of higher beings, but I feel like he would not be able to, because their existence itself is a mark on the world. Their abilities, not just their abilities, their presence, change everything they come across. And I was saying, so with a higher potential and a higher ability, he is able to transform into at least Hornet and develop wings, which makes him a lot more dangerous, since, I mean, the fight is harder than normal Nosk, at least a bit. However, it's still Nosk. He's just taking form of the at least strongest creature he is now able, a half higher being. And I could just say like, and because it looks cool in imitating Hornets. I said just that. Now this path here is blocked. Alright. So after this bit of a ramble, we'll have a bit of a rumble. Come on. One time I lost my Still Soul playthrough because of these bastards. I got a bit cocky and I tried to fight the two that you find together later, and I just ate grass. It was painful because I pride myself in being really good at this game, and like having gotten beaten like that, it was a bit heartbreaking to say the least. But still, I found it humbling to say the least. Like, everyone can make mistakes, and especially in this kind of challenge, we need to be careful and always careful. Know how to manage your resources, know how to manage your fights, and especially learn how to and when use the appropriate resources. Just like just now. Oh god, I do not want to make his voice. Do I make him sound like a grandpa? You know what, sure.
Just what do you think you're doing? You dare come between me and my prey? Is it a habit of yours to scurry about, getting in the way and causing bother? Know this, cur. I am Zod the Mighty, a knight of great renown. Trust me again, find out what they call my weapon, life, and
You know what? I think that voice fits him really well. He sounds like a angry grandpa sometimes, at least in my humble opinion. Now, I just want them both to be here, so I can... Alright. 1, 2, 3! I just need to beat a bit. Yeah, there we go. In my opinion, these two guys are one of the best ways to get money in this game, since each of them give 40, and they are pretty easily. It's just 3 vengeful spirits, especially in the early game, they are easy. It's just 3 vengeful spirits and a single hit. And there we go. Ouch. There we go. And I got another grub. I will try to buy the Lumafly lantern when I arrive in like Queen Station, if my wallet allows me. No. Oh god, I was distracting, biting my nails. Does anyone have this kind of problem where they're constantly biting their nails? I use quite a bit of a nail cutter constantly, because I got braces a bit, but still, I shall... Sorry about that, guys, my microphone died a bit, but still, everything's working now. We shall get by the stag station, and since we got a bitter times on our hands, we shall fight Hornet. Yes, the child-wielding needle, and the protector of Hollownest. it shall be great. I really enjoyed her fight, and I think it would not last much since I'm very accustomed to her moves. But since the beginning, when you get, the dash, everything gets a lot better. Come no closer, ghost. I seen you creeping through the undergrowth, stalking me. This old kingdom, a terrible thing awakens. I can smell it in the air. I know what you are. I know what you try to do. I can't allow it. Come on. Oh god, I guess I'm a bit accustomed to. Oh god, 2 hits in the start is not that great. Feel like I'm accustomed to like really quickly boss fights after Silk Song, so her being a bit sluggish makes me feel like I try to anticipate a lot of her movements, despite her in this form at least being a lot slower. Oh damn, that was a double hit. And there. Goodbye, my dear sister. And we got the Mothwing Cloak. Dashing. I do not think I want to voice the Dreamers because, 3 voices and they're all really different. So I will just read it out. Would it seek to break the seals? They cannot be undone. They must be undone. Let us sleep, little shadow. Return to your darkest. Allow us our peace. Flashbang, boy! And now we are fine. We shall continue and we shall progress. Oh, there we go. And I lost a bit of GU because of that fall, since the money went to the asset. But still, that's fine. Unless they do not... Yes, I lose the GU, because as someone who knows green programming, I thought that if the geo is running around me, it cannot interact more with the environment, since, it goes through the walls and etc. So, yeah. But still, we shall end after meeting the lovable boy, Quirrell, in the Lake of Un. Now we shall talk to Quirrell the next episode, and we shall leave it like that. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next video. As I said, comment your questions and I will answer them in the next videos. Or just comment anything and I'll try to, talk about it. I hope you guys like it and, like, subscribe, share, things like that. Bye bye.